And then Senator Ted Cruz went on Face the Nation, and it's the job of the squirrely reporter on there, Emperor Palpatine, that was interviewing Ted Cruz, to act like it's bizarre and weird to criticize Obama, and that it's Ted Cruz who's hurting the economy because he shut the government down for a couple days, trying to have a debate about the fact that we're going to go completely bankrupt. But remember, Obama came out and said, oh, no, raising the debt ceiling does not raise the debt. That's a quote, by the way. And if you have your doctor, you can keep your doctor. But it got worse. You wonder why no one in the controlled media will criticize Obama, that is a dictator for all intents and purposes. On a scale of 1 to 10, he's becoming a 7. And they pretty much always go to a 10 from that point. I think that's what I'm trying to get at here is the bottom has fallen out. And people are about to find out what dictatorship means. It means special interests that run the government literally can do anything they want, and they will. They will, historically. And stability will go completely out the window. Even if you don't care about morality or liberty or freedom, or you think the general public's dumb and doesn't deserve it, hey, it doesn't matter. Those checks and balances protect everybody. And every time you end up getting a tyranny, stuff gets real nasty real quick. Even for the people that serve the system, they tend to go in and out of favor, like changing styles and fads, and purges become basically like holiday events. So Christian Science Monitor says, is Barack Obama an imperial president? President Obama's use of executive action to get around congressional gridlock is unparalleled in modern times. Some scholars say, no, it's unparalleled. They act like it's some academic thing they're discussing. But the article continues, liberal activists, they're not liberals, they're authoritarians, but members of the authoritarian criminal group taking over, that's what it should say if it was being honest, but members of the criminal group posing as liberals taking over says that the Fuhrer is not doing enough. That should be translated. But is Barack Obama an imperial president? Again, did Hitler have a small mustache under his nose? President Obama's use of executive action to get around congressional gridlock, see how that spins it? Oh, it's getting around the problems, is unparalleled in modern times. Some scholars say, but to liberal activists, he's not going far enough. Should read, President Obama cements the presidency as a dictatorial position. His use of executive actions across the board is completing America's journey into total tyranny. And many of his supporters want him to seize full control and arrest their political enemies. That should be the headline. And, of course, that is now happening with Dinesh D'Souza, Governor McDonald, and others. And I saw sniveling establishment publications making fun of me over the weekend that I dared point out that the stuff that Dinesh D'Souza and others are alleged to have done is the equivalent of having a crooked toenail while the judge sitting over you, Eric Holder, is chopping up children with a meat cleaver. I mean, these people cannot sit in judgment. They are frauds. Alex Jones here with a very important announcement for truth seekers. We've carried a lot of amazing films and books over the years on the online video bookstore at Infowars.com. And out of all the titles we've carried, one stands out because it is just so chillingly convincing. And that's Dreams from My Real Father by Joel Gilbert, available at Infowars.com. This film exposes the fraud that Obama is like nothing I've seen. If you want to know who Obama's real daddy is, this is the film for you. Don't forget, your purchase supports our broadcast and our growing media network. You'll also find at InfoWarsShop.com None Dare Call It Conspiracy by Gary Allen, the book that woke me up. We're also carrying Behind the Green Mask, UN Agenda 21 by Rosa Corey. This book is coffin nails to the globalist takeover. The Greater Good, the most professional and up-to-date film I've ever seen exposing the scourge that is vaccines. These titles and a lot more are all available at InfoWarsShop.com. And then we have Mr. O'Keefe joining us from Project Veritas. They are amongst the people being subpoenaed and basically prepared to be indicted, looks like to me, by the gangster that runs New York State, Mr. Cuomo, who said last week gun owners and pro-lifers are, quote, not welcome in New York. We don't have those type of people here. an open tyrant bully saying, you know, we want your tax money, but keep your mouth shut. They only make announcements like that before open persecution. He is a bully thug and must be met head on. Just like Bloomberg is saying it'll be national suicide if we don't have open borders, and that America's immigration is insane. We have the most open borders, get ready for this, in the world, according to every study that's out there. Look it up. It is easier to get into the United States, and look, it wouldn't be an issue if the immigrants came here and weren't organized into socialist brigades to vote for gun control and socialism and total tyranny. And Senator Sessions is pointing out studies in an article today that it drives down wages. No kidding. That's why we've got the working class now, on average, on food stamps while working 2 jobs. Just where the government wants you. Working 12 hours a day and having to be on food stamps. And your health prices double, tripling, quadrupling, and now you've got to go out and get it. You can't just go to the hospital, the emergency room, when you're in an emergency like you could before. I mean, this is incredible. This is the death of this country. And watch, they're probably going to pass the end of the borders. Obama's already doing it with executive action. And just remember, as things get worse and worse, and you're going to look up in 10 years, we're going to look like Mexico City. There's going to be nowhere to run. And the elite are all going to be living off in Switzerland, who has total control over their borders. Just remember what you asked for. Because, you know, Elysium, you know, Matt Damon, I mean, it's mean if you don't let the 50 billion people onto the space station that can hold 100,000. You know, if you don't let 500 people in the lifeboat that holds 20, I mean, we've got to sink the whole boat. We don't want to actually try to build up the third world. No, no, no. Let's keep them in squalor and then export the poverty, the corruption, the tyranny here. And that's what's happening. It's economic weapon of warfare and a cultural weapon. And in a world where people love fads and the surface and feeling like they're winners when they're actually losers, this will be the final blow to the ongoing degradation of this country. I mean, we're not even a nation. We're part of the North American Union with wide open borders. And a president that will legalize by fiat whoever he wants. I mean, that is simply sensational. Hey, maybe I can run to Venezuela. Oh, I'm sorry, Financial Times of London. Venezuela grapples with 56% inflation. Oh, it's great to be under a communist system. Oh, communism doesn't exist. I'm sorry, socialist, even though they say they're communist. That's the kind of news I've got here. But first off, let me just go over some of the news that is obviously coming up. They're moving in Europe to ban cars from entire regions and saying it's under Agenda 21 and a UN treaty. And that is mainstream news from CNBC. Many children unable to be included in parents' Obamacare family plans after they were kicked off. So see, not only does it not cover pre-existing conditions, it kicks you off when you have health care. And of course, less than a third of people in California have actually gotten back on their plans that were kicked off. That was all just more lies, more fake hope by Obama so that no political action can form. These are basic military tactics, folks. When the NDAA in 2011, the National Defense Authorization Act, had the End of Posse Comitatus in it, had open setups for, quote, civilian inmate labor camps. These are real terms. Search them, you'll be on the Army.mil. It's not a game here. And if you looked at the NDAA, the National Defense Authorization Act, there was a lot of opposition to it. So Obama said, hey, don't worry about that. I'm not going to sign it. And he even criticized Senator Dodd, saying, how dare you have these provisions? Dodd got actually mad. Got up and huffed and puffed on the floor, the Senate floor, and I played the clip here, and said, how dare you? Here is the letter from you, Obama, 3 months ago, asking me to keep this confidential. You got to find that clip and play it again. It's so amazing that you actually wrote these provisions. You, a constitutional lawyer, and then you blame me when I have been partisanly loyal, and then you blame me. That's how evil these people are, ladies and gentlemen. And then Obama said, well, I'm still not going to sign it, so it wouldn't have opposition, so it would go to his desk, and he signed it on the last day of 2011 in the evening of December 31st. That's how the Federal Reserve Act 100 years ago got passed as well, 3 senators. This is how they do this stuff in the dead of night. And that's what they do on all these other fronts. Oh, I'm going to get you that free health care. Oh, I'm sorry it kicked you off your plan and doubled your price. I'm gonna be a dictator. I'm going to fix that. People are like, all right, be a dictator. Get it done. Yeah, it's those Republicans in the House. They won't let it work right. That's why it happened. They've got a passed bill, folks, fully in Obama's hands. And then this leads me to the big issue before I get into all the other news. This really is a giant mega issue. This is so incredible just to see it all out in the open. Here's the Associated Press. They're just nonchalantly reporting this like it's completely normal and kosher and okay. White House warns Obama could go around Congress on our sovereignty and our borders, bringing in groups that will then be given driver's license to vote, to, you guessed it, use the voting, because the Bill of Rights isn't there to protect us anymore. It was the referee to literally enslave everyone. This is the breaking of the public by design. Only a fool in the establishment will want to get rid of checks and balances. Here's another one. Obama to assert unilateral agenda. Isn't that a nice way of saying it? In the Washington Post and the Wall Street Journal, they've all got the same headlines. This is the Wall Street Journal. Obama to assert unilateral agenda. President to seek to use State of the Union address to shift souring view of leadership. Yeah, con him one more time. Lie to him one more time. The plan's almost in place. Here's Bloomberg. Obama's plan to use executive action triggers criticism. Oh, my gosh, how evil that Mitch McConnell and others would dare criticize the year of action. Boy, does that sound fascist. And here's the Christian Science Monitor. You read this, and the whole article basically, in a smarmy way, endorses it and legitimizes it. And here's the key point we've gotten to. When he starts to act as an open dictator, and there's no real criticism, and Senator Ted Cruz gets censored when he's on Face the Nation, but they still streamed it out live, but then when they aired it, they cut it. It's delayed by an hour, even more on the West Coast. So Cruz was able to get the raw feed. He's smart enough to have his staffers there. He got it, and they cut out where he said Obama's becoming a dictator and abusing power. They don't want anyone talking about the elephant in the room, ladies and gentlemen. So Christian Science Monitor, though, addresses it, but says, oh, big deal. There's some gridlock. Come on. Is Barack Obama an imperial president? Well, of course he is. President Obama's use of executive action to get around congressional gridlock. To get around congressional gridlock, you mean when a few in Congress dare say, hey, we're going bankrupt, maybe we should debate increasing in spending. We're going to totally devalue everything and go down the drain. Shut up, racist. You're criticizing Obama because you're racist, and raising the debt ceiling does not raise the debt. Remember that quote from Obama? I mean, this is upside down world. This is bizarro world. And the article goes on to say, but liberal activists say he's not going far enough. See, now some people say maybe it's a little not friendly that he's a dictator now. But the liberals, and they're the liberals, they have the moral high ground. They're called liberals. You know, if you're in New York and want to own guns or are anti-abortion, just get out of the state. You're not welcome here. That's not authoritarian or anything. Get out of Germany, 1935. Get out and you know, pay us before you leave, too. I mean, these people are authoritarian gangsters. You look at Cuomo, you look at Obama, you look at that witch Hillary. They act like she's a celebrity on the news to try to sell mindless trendies that, ooh, Hillary's, you know, a wonderful person and all this. I mean, she looks like a baboon's butt or something. I'm nothing against her the way she looks, but this crone-like witch. Let's continue here. Is Barack Obama an imperial president? Zhu Hong's voice rang out loud and clear, interpreting the most powerful man in the world. You have the power to stop deportation of all undocumented immigrants in this country. The young South Korean man yelled as President Obama during a speech on immigration reform last November in San Francisco, waving away security guards. Mr. Obama turned and addressed Mr. Hong himself, undocumented. Actually, I don't, the president said.
Hello, this is Hank Hill, and I'm telling you what, you need to listen to Alex Jones.
Yeah. Infowars.com. Yeah.
Judge, what is the secret of the universe?
Infowars.com. Yeah.
Headlines everywhere going, well, the president's going to act alone on the military. He's going to act alone on Obamacare. He's going to act alone on guns. He's going to act alone on immigration. He's going to act alone with recess appointments that clearly haven't gone through the process. He's going to take a third of his money from foreign donors, each one of them a felony, while at the same time arresting Dinesh D'Souza, even if he's guilty, and he's pled not guilty, for doing something literally 1/10,000th. Obama has raised hundreds of millions illegally, openly, on record, and not gotten in trouble. And then Dinesh D'Souza gives $20,000 to a good friend running for the Senate and does it through bundling, something Democrats do openly. I mean, the Project Veritas has endless videos. Endless videos. And he's coming on in the third hour today with new ones, with the Blue State Project that's trying to turn Texas into a socialist stronghold. And they get in there in these meetings and openly talk about crimes they're committing, and election fraud, and getting illegals to vote, and getting government payoffs, and no one gets in trouble. No one gets in trouble. And then they go out and they selectively enforce, and then Ted Cruz, the senator, goes on Face the Nation, and the job of the Face the Nation host, Bob Schaefer, is to sit there and, like a con artist, laugh and act like Cruz is ridiculous and that he, Schaefer, has the moral authority when he's saying outrageous things like, how dare you say we shouldn't raise the debt again? Raising the debt doesn't raise the debt. Ha ha, you're the bad one that said Obamacare was a bad deal. Ha ha, boy, are you discredited. This is the tactic. Oh, look at Ted Cruz. Look at Muhammad Ali and the Thriller in Manila when he won. He's discredited. He won. It'd be like whoever wins the Super Bowl coming up, saying, oh, they're discredited. They won the Super Bowl. Everything he said about it was true. I'm Bob Schaefer. I mean, they play these games where these mental midgets, because you got the general public doesn't even watch the news, doesn't even know what planet they're on, literally. Has no idea up from down, just believes everything they're told. Brain damaged, watching television all day, drooling, acting trendy. Then you've got the kind of news outlet type people that think they're news hounds and think they know how things work. Democrat types, they watch Face the Nation and sit there in their couches laughing with Bob Schaefer and actually, ha-ha, he said Obamacare was bad, keeping the whole con going when we all know Obamacare is wonderful. Well, the story is up on Infowars.com. Very important. I had the guys post the Newsbusters video. It's also up on DrudgeReport.com. CBS caught censoring Ted Cruz over Obama's abuse of power. And the actual Newsbusters headline is, Face the Nation edits out Senator Cruz condemning Obama's abuse of power. And you can see both the edited clip, the unedited clip. They streamed the real clip, but then aired later the edited one and edited this out, because no one's allowed to talk about how Obama is basically becoming a dictator. The InfoWars crew absolutely loves coffee because we love being awake. And I am somewhat of a connoisseur of coffee. So many times you go to a restaurant or even to a coffee shop and the coffee tastes like garbage. And in all the different coffees I've tried, my favorite is grown in the high mountains, in shade, Arabica, on the border with Guatemala in southern Mexico by the Chiapas farmers. I make sure we've done the research. I make sure it's the very best product that we can offer you when I put my name on it. And I believe, and it's my taste, so you may differ, that this is the best coffee in the world from southern Mexico. Wake Up America Patriot Blend, 100% organic, Arabica shade grown. And then we have the Immune Support, 100% organic coffee, infused with a special type of mushroom known to boost the immunity.
This coffee is seriously so smooth. I normally have to douse my coffee with cream and sugar and cinnamon and all kinds of tasty treats, but this, I drink this black. It is so good.
Well, that's why I like it, is that it has a kick, it has really good caffeine in it, it has a good clean wake up that lasts for a long time, doesn't give me a headache, but it's so smooth, it's so delicious. Just try it out for yourself. I'm telling you, this is my favorite coffee. We went through a lot of trouble to bring you this. Just try it, and I think you'll be hooked like we are here at InfoWars. Well, folks, find out for yourself and support the information war today. It's all available at InfoWarsLife.com or by calling toll-free 888-253-3139. What we have is an insane establishment. That's what tyranny is you get a bunch of megalomaniacs in control, and they just loot and wreck everything. Even a smart, corrupt establishment would want a big, wealthy system and skim off the top. Because the skim off of a healthy, somewhat free system is hundreds of times thicker than all the cream that is in a tyranny. But they don't care. They want the full control, and they will wreck everything to get it. And they hate anyone who is not controlled by them. I mean, I start thinking about the lies Obama gets away with, and then you wonder why he's able to do that. It's because no one in the dinosaur media will report on the fact that he's acting as a dictator, or if they do, they say, well, there's been some gridlock and the president's acting unilaterally, but he's not doing enough, giving them cover. And that's what they're there for, to create a false reality to insert us into. A three-dimensional fraud where they laugh at Ted Cruz during the full interview. I was watching it this morning and say, you know, you're the guy that criticized Obamacare. You're the guy that, you know, tried to shut down the government. Tried to shut down the government? They simply said, we've got to make some cuts across the board, defense, you name it. As Senator Paul said, or this country's going under. In fact, it's already too late. And I think that's the attitude of the establishment who's directed us to this point, is just go all the way. And they're going to act as the saviors, again, while all of this implodes. And I'm not trying to be negative here. This is just the facts. And the more we can discuss the facts, the better. I love how he just talks over him. Of course, so what did Schaefer do? He just edited it out for broadcast. It doesn't matter, Schaefer, your dwindling audience is like your dwindling life force. So I hope your sellout to the establishment has been worth it, because you will always be on the side of the traitors. And the big issue here is that I told former Congressman Bob Barr, who's set to get back into Congress, last Thursday, 6 hours before the Dinesh D'Souza news broke, I said, I think they're going to start purging people and using this Justice Department to do it. I mean, why not? They've gotten away with everything. Obama is now saying he's a dictator, basically. I mean, what do you think the next step is, folks? This goes in progression, so we know the next level. And the establishment is getting all this ready because they are preparing to absolutely implode the currencies, start huge wars, you name it. There are times in histories where all Hades breaks loose. And across the board, historians, political scientists are saying this is one of those times. But everyone's so scared that they're creeping around, just like with Hitler or Lenin or Stalin or Mao, and not opposing these people up front. And they're going to take over, and they're going to take your bank accounts, and they're going to take your pension funds, and they're going to make wealthy people be folks that make the equivalent of $20,000 a year. You're going to be poor when they're done with you. That's the plan. And it's very, very frustrating. I want to play the trailer for Dinesh D'Souza's America that they've emergency released. You know, I ended up releasing the Obama deception a week early because the FBI showed up here asking about it. And I said, what is this in relation to? Well, we're just asking about it. And, I mean, that shows you how they're scared of resistance. They're scared of Ted Cruz going on TV and saying, why did you arrest for a year on trumped-up charges the guy that made the Muhammad film to try to blame him for Benghazi? And nothing to do with it. Why have you arrested Dinesh D'Souza? I mean, here's the deal. Let's say Dinesh D'Souza went out and got 5 friends to give, you know, the maximum couple $1,000s or whatever. And then he gave his maximum amount. The max in there was like 5,000. Used to be 3,000. And it turns out they've been investigating him for a year. And everybody should be, wow, this looks like a witch hunt. We need to investigate this. This, you know, there's a lot bigger fish to fry. There's maxims in law, folks, that if you have a corrupt attorney general with Solyndra and all the other scams and Fast and Furious and Benghazi and the list goes on, and the NSA and all the incredible campaign finance fraud, the likes of which the world's never seen. Obama, I guess, can pardon himself later or pardon others when he leaves office, but the Justice Department will not investigate him. The Republican blue blood leadership is part of the same traitor group. And so they're not going to go after Obama when he leaves. They'll fight a rearguard action for him. But you look at 1/3 of Obama's money coming from foreign donors openly and him funding foreign fundraisers with foreigners, giving checks and putting bags of cash in buckets on TV. They don't even hide it. And then Dinesh D'Souza, one of his best friends he went to college with and edited a newspaper with at college, he gives her $20,000. And, I mean, on its face, if Michael Moore, who I don't like, would have been indicted, and by the way, he gives money to the Democrats, so that should be looked at. Not to indict him, but just to, I guarantee you there's bundling going on with him as well. And the guy's got 6 armed bodyguards. He doesn't want you to own guns. I mean, he's a hypocrite. He's not a liberal, folks. He's a gangster who wants his slaves disarmed. He's a fellow traveler. These guys sit around as gangsters. I've been around them. I know folks that are around them. I've been at the highest levels of corporate meetings, Hollywood meetings that I've fallen into over the years, all part of my quest. I always just fall into this stuff and get a chance to see things other people haven't seen. They're gangsters. They're not liberals. They're not conservatives. They're thug crooks. Michael Moore is a crook. He wants organized government to take my guns. He wants to disarm me. That's criminal robbery of my rights. You know, he came out, he had all those stocks in Halliburton and defense companies, and he knew it while he's criticizing the wars. He's a complete hypocrite. What, you don't think I didn't know how to make money in prison stocks 10 years ago or any of these stocks? We've had guests on telling you what stocks are good to be a part of. I won't be part of it because I don't want that bad mojo, as the Japanese would call it, hara. The point is, I don't want to consciously do bad things. I do enough bad stuff without unconsciously. But we've got Michael Moore and all the rest of these people getting away with bloody murder. And can you imagine if Bush's Justice Department had arrested him and then arrested a Republican governor and then been going after O'Keefe? O'Keefe of the Project Veritas, James O'Keefe, that's joining us. He's now getting subpoenaed, and the U.S. attorney, also the state attorney, he's got quotes on his site, are just saying incredibly mean things about him, openly prejudicing themselves. I mean, they don't care. They want everybody to know they're gangsters with 3-piece suits with government helicopters. They're the mafia with helicopters and SWAT teams. It's not a pretty picture. There's only one thing the mafia recognizes, and that's getting punched right back in the nose. There are a lot of good people living in New York State, but I mean, that was pure gangster last week when he said, you're not welcome here, you need to leave if you're pro-life or pro-gun. That was the quote. There's no room for you in this state, he concluded. New Yorkers aren't like that. See, he defines, that's his tolerance. That's his liberalness, is to say, you'll do whatever I say. And they'll go on MSNBC and say, your kids belong to the state. And they'll go on CNN and say, we're going to do forced inoculations. And they'll go on the CNN and say, Obama's a dictator, it's good for you. And then those of us that warned about this, oh, we're the kooks. Look, Alex said they'd have bullets, billions of bullets and drones and checkpoints, and it's all happening. He's discredited. And they're literally just there to make it look like con artists, that everything's fine with the general public. That everything's okay. It's all business as usual. I'm going to tell the Republican leadership something right now, and you're not stupid. And I know you're all blackmailed and intimidated, but you're obviously the party that's going to be phased out. I want to explain something to you. You cannot make a deal with the New World Order. They are going to root all of you guys out, and I guarantee you, if they fully take over, you're going to be exiled or put in prison or killed. And people like Ted Cruz and Rand Paul, who I know well, and many others behind the scenes and on the air, care about their grandchildren, care about their children, and realize you cannot make a deal with El Diablo. You cannot make a deal with it. And it's just mind-blowing. I mean, I've got the news here that we're going to cover. A ban on automobiles. Major cities consider going carless. CNBC under UN regulations. I told you that's the plan. And they're going to put taxes on travel that are so cost prohibitive that no one but people worth tens of millions of dollars are going to be able to travel. This is total feudalism where you'll never leave your village and where your village is globally run. I mean, this is serfdom. This is slavery. Let's pull up the definition of serfdom if we can. Indentured serfdom, where you never left your land and you were controlled via debt. And that's what the globalists said they wanted at Club of Rome in the 60s and CFR documents in the 80s. And you read all this, and they're doing everything they said they'd do. Our whole destiny, our whole society hijacked. We're going to go to break and come back with the Dinesh D'Souza trailer. You know, I've gotten so busy that and so obsessed with Obama Deception 2. It really is a great film that I basically a few months ago just paused working on it. But I really need to get that out as an act of resistance. And, I mean, I was trying to come up with a sub-name, Obama Deception, something about stopping the dictator, stopping the rise of the dictator, or America's Last Chance. I mean, that's what the film's about, predicting he would do all this. And now I've got to go back and change it because it's all happened. It's happening faster than I can put it out. That's the problem. And it's just so painful. And that's why even if big national libertarian and Republican hosts attack me out of professional jealousy, I am not going to respond. And actually, a lot of them have stopped attacking me since I don't respond back. They actually said some good things, and that's a good thing. Because, folks, if we don't hang together, listen, if somebody arrests Michael Savage, which he hadn't said bad things about me, he said nice things, but I would support him, even though I only agree with about 95% of what he says. Very honorable, very smart guy. If they try to set up Glenn Beck or come after him, I would stand for him. Or Matt Drudge or WorldNet Daily or any of these groups or individuals. I mean, it's basic common sense. We hang together or we hang separate. And it is true that the Republicans have been controlled at the top, but their ideology, at least on paper, the Republican Party platform of Texas sounds like it was written by the John Birch Society, because it basically was. We have the answers to turn this around. That's why they're scared of Ted Cruz. That's why they want to censor him. That's why they want to censor me. That's why they assassinate my character. But I just say to all the people that work for the system and the rest of you, come on, you really don't want this to happen. You don't want to be delusional and imagine that you're part of the power structure and everything's going to be okay. And if you just laugh at us, everything will turn out and you'll be with the power structure. That's not how this works. You should be gravely concerned, just by the depressionary factors we're seeing happen. We better all come together around due process and call for the charges to be dropped on Dinesh D'Souza. Hands down. You cannot have this corrupt Justice Department that is the dirtiest in U.S. history, undoubtedly, prosecuting their political enemies, trying to stop D'Souza's movie in the middle of shooting coming out July 4th. Now, let me announce to everybody just briefly here that I get so busy, I skip network breaks. I don't plug the products. That's how we fund ourselves. If you want to stand with us and buy your war bonds in the battle for the Republic, in this information war, you need to go to InfoWarsStore.com and get the Pro Pure. They now have the Pro 2, Pro 1 filters that cut out all the glyphosates, the fluoride, you name it. The best filters out there, bar none. We have the widest selection. Promo code WATER to save 10% off the already lowest price. InfoWarsLife.com to stock up on the fluoride shield with the nascent iodine and 5 other key ingredients to supercharge detoxifying the body. Ask yourselves, what are you doing in this time of great challenge? What are you doing to unlock minds? CBS caught censoring Cruz's comments on Obama's abuse of power. Already covered that, but it's so important. Here's a huge story I'm going to cover after our guest leaves at the bottom of the next hour. Soros activists take over Ukrainian government buildings. They're going to do it here, too. China crash transfers hoax. Plays into bank run fears. Is the major gold scandal going mainstream? The answer is yes. The artificial suppression of gold prices over the last 2 years. And boy, when they finally stop suppressing it, I think it's going to go above 3,000. Silver back above 50. That is just some of the news. The reason they hype that America's evil and everything is bad is so that the socialists run by foreign banks who are actually conquering the world, running giant slave camps worldwide, Foxconn slave factories, they just want to point at some evils of the past to then project it onto everyone who's alive today to give them the moral high ground. And I don't know what D'Souza's going to do in his film. Funny enough, I actually tackle all of this in Obama Deception 2 with the Obama phone lady, everybody. But this really is the ideology. This really is the mindset. This really is how these people operate. And it's extremely, extremely frustrating that the globalists are carrying out all these crimes worldwide, funding al-Qaeda to murder Christians all over Africa, all over the Middle East. Again, Al Gore on the board of Apple with the Foxconn, worst factories in the world, suicide nets, forced abortions, forced drugging. But it's like, oh, but they have the moral high ground because they stand for the Native Americans. Well, I happen to be Native American, in fact, quite a bit on my dad's side. Comanche, Cherokee, you name it. I mean, my dad didn't go when he was a little kid to the tourist trap deals where you go see the the natives doing their rituals and stuff. I mean, he went to the real deals and danced around the campfires and stuff. The whole point is that I happen to know what happened with the natives. I happen to know the whole history of the battles back and forth. And that Hollywood always portrayed Western activities in Arizona and places. The real battles were in the East and the Midwest. And it was all just tribalism. And I know that American ideas, though never fully realized, are a threat to the globalist. Due process, private property, the family. They want you to be in a Democratic Party Ku Klux Klan gang. The Democratic Party by the 60s, Eisenhower destroyed them with the Civil Rights Act, the party of Lincoln. This is a fact. Martin Luther King was a Republican. On record. No one knows that. That's how dumb the public is. It's a total hoax. The Grand Dragon, Congressman Byrd and Senator Byrd, all of them. LBJ famously quotes saying, I got to do something to keep control of these N-words. We're going to get welfare on them and run their lives. We're going to put them in a prison. I'm not about to have those N-words voting Republican. The Democrats flipped over in the 60s, in the mid-60s. And I'm not even a Republican because they've sold out and are bad as well. But, I mean, the public is so ignorant. I'm sick of it. They say the NRA is the Klan now. When the NRA was founded to help black people. That's how butt backwards everything is. And we're here to expose the hoax. Visit Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. When you're on the site, you can also tune in 24 hours a day to my daily radio broadcast. There's also a free iPhone app to listen to the syndicated radio show when and where you want.